I'm so happy you joined me here today. Can you tell me a little bit about your new role at NetApp?
So beginning of 2022, I started my new role as VP of Workplace Experience at NetApp under our HR org, so really aligned with our employee experience. My role is everything from real estate to build-outs and management of our facilities, but also our culture, our hybrid operations, a little bit of everything these days. So it's a really exciting role.
Wow. Do you feel it's a new role based on what you were driving at GitHub, or is it just an expansion?
GitHub was a different role. We use the same term, workplace experience, but it was hybrid since the beginning, since its inception. It's been around for 12, 13 years, and I was there for about 9 of it. So the role was really about iteration and really in reinforcing the culture. We went through many different phases. We were remote first, we were remote friendly, we tried out different things with co-working, right? So there's a lot of play. With NetApp, it's a lot more of a cultural transformation, which I think a lot of people are going through right now of we weren't hybrid before, weren't as hybrid before, and now we need to find the right balance of when we allow individuals to work and what flexibility and autonomy they have versus when do we connect them and bring them together, and how do we have those discussions in a way that are fruitful and meaningful. So it's kind of this little bit of a philosophy switch for my role.
Do you have goals with that transformation? Like, is it one of the goals is to lean towards more another of the model?
I think that's what companies are struggling with. It's a muscle you need to flex. It's one you need to build, and getting people over that first hump of building a new habit, creating a new routine. Even if it's come in once a month to meet with your team for an all hands, that's when we have to kind of start practicing. And then I think as managers get used to running really good meetings, people feel good, like they got something out of going to the office. Then we'll start seeing that change and evolve, and companies will figure out their right balance. So
exactly. And I love, not only you had a head start going into the pandemic because you had that model at GitHub, and today the few items that you mentioned are part of any playbook, like give a budget to a team so they meet, like they have a cadence of meeting, not forcing anyone to be in the office, but having events so the office feel attractive and vibrant, and having technology so anyone can be included. Today it's like the 40 items that anyone will put on their new hybrid playbook, and you had that, so that really gave you a head start in now helping other companies to get there. And it won't be exactly the same because companies have also a legacy of a different culture. And I'm sure at NetApp you had to first understand what's their legacy culture. How did you go about that?
Coming in, it's hard not to be a bull in a china shop and want to try to fix everything. And but really, it was just learning the company culture, right? Like how synchronous versus asynchronous are we? What kind of educational programs do we have for our management team? How do people feel about the culture right now? Doing a lot of surveys, gathering a lot of data. What metrics do we have around our office space and how we're using it? What's our real estate portfolio philosophy and strategy? There's all this. So just being a little sponge and absorbing, I think, was the best way to do it. And then starting and talking with the leadership as well, right? How are they feeling? What's their philosophy? Are they aligned with hybrid?
When you joined NetApp at the very beginning, did you have to explain your role to the entire organization? Like, how did they launch you into providing you what you needed to really create that transformation forward?
Yeah, I think at NetApp and a lot of different companies, facilities is having a renaissance, right? We saw human resources became people operations for a while. I think we're seeing real estate and facilities become workplace experience. Explaining that to people that it's more employee centric, it's more experiential than it is about cost centers and real estate footprints. It's a balance of both. We still do all of that, but I think that's still challenging for some folks to get their mind around that. Yes, hybrid meetings that happen at home are as important to the workplace experience team as the ones that happen in the office because they all contribute to whether that is a good meeting or not. So it's been lots of fun though to explore virtual worlds more, to explore tooling, all the amazing tooling. I think, it's fun to be hybrid before it was cool, but it's been really amazing to see all of Dasana.io, which is a co-working company come out and try new things. It's interesting to see Zoom adopt some of the, I guess, social platforms, their different styles of doing things, like clicking the heart and then a bunch of the hearts float up. You're like, oh, is Zoom a social media platform now? But they're playing with stickiness and all those and how do you get meeting engagements? And so it's been really fun to see that evolution happen.
And you talked about something that rarely falls out of our radar, but we need to stretch our portfolio inside our employees' homes. And I remember talking with Google about a year ago, where they had this program of I can't remember the title, but I think that was head of working from home. But basically their philosophy or their goal was that now there will be a dedicated team that help employees create a setup at home, maybe create a certain discipline, maybe knows to learn when to take breaks or when to walk in between meetings, all the things that maybe were natural in the office because your desk was in one place, your coffee was in another place, maybe you had to pick up something at door or so you would work, but at home you could maybe stay seated all day and maybe you don't have the right lighting or the sound. So it's interesting that now we also need a team to look at employees' homes.
I mean, even as someone who's been doing hybrid for a long time, when the pandemic started, I was sitting on the couch with the laptop on my little laptop table lap, and I was like, this is probably not the best thing, because I just put my laptop aside, turn on the TV, and suddenly I'm home. And, for boundaries' sake, for mental health's sake, that challenges, because then you just pick up your laptop again and go back to work. And but eventually I got the ergonomic setup and the desk and the light, and looking good on camera is super important. Having the right camera so people feel confident in what you're saying, right? Having a good internet connection so it's not blitzing out and people can hear what you're saying. So there's all these little things that go into it, and then how do we help our employees find those boundaries and shut off? Because there's that little light on Teams that shows if you're always on, and it's way too easy to not get up from your chair at home. So I love that Google has a whole person just dedicated to that, because I think it's a challenge, but it's also a fun, challenge.
Are you still very optimistic and enthusiastic about the future of work?
Of course. Of course. I mean, humans have been working in an office, they have Roman records, the public office. The monks were doing it in the 18th century, right? Copying manuscripts at their little cubicle. I don't think we're all going to suddenly stop working. Would I love to be independently wealthy? Sure, but this is a good second option. Humans are always going to want to come together and collaborate and for specific purposes. And so, I think it's just going to continue to evolve. I keep thinking, what if we had the pandemic in the 90s, right? And we are all using AOL dial-up. What would we have done? How would it have been different? The technology allowed us to thrive and to evolve, and how is it going to continue to move us forward? So I think there's a lot of excitement in the future.
I agree 100%. Thank you so much, Lara, for this amazing conversation.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I love to nerd out, and I'm so glad I could nerd out with you.
Always. Thank you.
Thank you.